Nice.
It says a 5x5, says Scuba Rob in the chat. Good morning, my name is Bear from the internet. Today we're talking about a constitutional crisis, says the news. And then we're going to ascertain as to whether or not we even care. It is Bear and Friends today, and I'm here with Buckets and Bibles and Tactically Torah, who
Shalom,
are on
brother.
the couch over here.
What's up, y'all?
And shout out to J.A. Dudley, who is behind the camera right there. I would turn the camera and point it at him, but he would punch me in the face, and I'm not really looking forward to that. So, but Dudley set up the multi-camera, multi-stream, multi-microphone, all that stuff. And so we're trying to, I keep looking at this camera that's not on. I got to look at this camera. We're trying to increase the production quality around here. And we were going to do this next week. And Dud was like, do you want to try it now or after Midwestern Preparedness Festival? And I was like, let's do it now. And he was like, okay. But he was actually freaking out in his head. So shout out to Dudley for getting it done. You guys know the drill. The show is brought to you by the creator of the universe, Yahweh your Elohim, the Lord your God. It's brought to you by refugemedical.com and the wonderful people on Patreon that are the economic engine of the Bear Nation. Do all the things like subscribe, share, comment, blah, blah, blah. Punch the YouTube algorithmic robots in the face. So, question for the peanut gallery. Do you guys even care about what Trump is or isn't doing right now?
Not really.
Not really?
I mean,
up. Speak from the diaphragm.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm concerned about the tariffs and what it's going to do to the economy, and I'm concerned what's going to happen with the trucking industry because these are hard pivots, and I don't think that the ripples will be beneficial short term.
What about you, Mr. Heath?
Well, I think you said a key phrase, short term, right? I think overall big picture, what's happening right now is very important. I am concerned about it, not super concerned, because I do think that in the end, as it rolls out, probably especially near towards the end of his term, we'll start seeing the benefits of the groundwork that he's laying.
So an interesting thing here is that the vast majority of the mainstream media coverage of the Trump presidency is negative. It's like 96% negative, as if the mainstream media still has any authority. It's super interesting. Legacy media, it's for the last 50, 70, 80 years, it's been heavily invested into to control the narrative, right? Jim Marrs, one of my favorite authors, M-A-R-R-S, said the news can't tell you what to think, but it can tell you what to think about. And so I've kind of taken that to heart over the last 20 plus years. And it just fascinates me because the #1 show on MSNBC right now has less viewers than this little YouTube channel does. It's a fact, right? That's just math, right?
Yeah.
So like the top mainstream, like Wrangler Star has more people that watch his content when he's like in the woods drilling holes in the ground with an auger, replanting Douglas firs. More people are watching that than Fox News.
Right.
But Fox News is still the authoritative voice on the subject, and it's like complete and utter BS.
They act like they've got the finger on the pulse of the populace whenever it's really people like you and Wrangler Star.
Like us. Yeah. It's just normal people. And so the flip side of that, right, democratization is an interesting thing because we live in the United States of America. Everybody has a God-given, constitutionally protected right to say whatever they want to say, including the most vile hate speech that you've ever heard. That dangerous speech is ideally what should be protected by the First Amendment. And we'll come around to this bill that was proposed and now has very quietly gone away here in a minute. But so on the one hand, you look at a platform like X, where like anybody can make an account. Right? Or Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Anybody can make an account and just start flapping their gums. I mean, I'm here because of that. Y'all are here because of that. But that doesn't make people authoritative sources on the information that they're talking about. And so when you democratize information, you do kind of need somebody that knows what the hell they're talking about, because otherwise you end up with people who are like, well, the reason that Trump did X, Y, and Z is because the Illuminati at the South Pole, the reptilians came down in a ship from the Pleiadians, and they got together, they had a conversation with Mr. Trump, and he decided because of the New World Order that they're going to have to spray the nanobot fog on top of everybody. It's like, maybe all of that's true, but you wove all these little things together that aren't actually connected, and now you have this thesis that's like, and that's the reason that milk's $8 a gallon. Probably not. It's probably not why milk's $8 a gallon. You know, and so it's this weird juxtaposition that we're in, dichotomy, as Jocko would call it, right now, where like everybody has a voice, but most of the voices are useless. When it used to be very few people had a voice and all of them were lying. You know?
Yeah, right.
And so now it's a new information game nowadays. And so with that, everybody, pick a fake media outlet this morning, everybody's talking about this constitutional crisis that we find ourselves in right now due to President Donald J. Trump. And it's complete BS. They're taking the president's words out of context. Imagine that. And so Trump said on NBC News Meet the Press that he's following lawyers' advice as he tries to execute rapid deportations, arguing that giving immigrants due process is time-consuming. Well, it is. That's the point. It's 60 years in order to process all of the cases that they currently have. And in 3.5 years, when Trump's not president anymore, which we'll probably talk about next, when Trump's not president anymore, asterisk, the Democratic Party will still have most of the voters that they brought in here in the country for redistricting, for Kamala Harris, who they're already trying to prop up on a 2028 presidential run, to have a landslide victory. I think Kamala is dumber than a box of rocks. I think it's insulting to rocks to say that Kamala Harris is as dumb, because at least rocks have some utility. I can pay with them. I can hit pedophiles in the head with them. You know, I can use them in a slingshot.
Yes.
Build with them. Kamala Harris is useless. So President Donald Trump argued in an interview with NBC News Meet the Press that fulfilling his ambitious campaign promises to rapidly carry out mass deportations may take precedence over giving immigrants the right to due process under the Constitution as required by courts. So the Fifth Amendment doesn't delineate between a citizen and a non-citizen. It talks about on American soil. But my standpoint on this is, biblically, you reap what you sow. So if you didn't have any due process on the way in here, what makes you think that you're going to have due process on the way out? What do you think about that?
I mean,
am I right? Am I wrong? Screw you. Like,
I don't think you're wrong at all.
okay.
I mean, rules, laws, regulations, they've just completely gone by the wayside. And you look at it, especially from the perspective of the extreme left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's countless reports of insider trading. There's countless reports of illegal, illicit activity going on within the government across the board, and who's being held accountable.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because it used to be in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all this stuff was like kind of covert, right? It was like behind the scenes. Now it's blatant and in your face.
Right.
Like lawlessness has increased.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a great point.
Yep. Because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many has grown cold.
Yeah.
Amen.
How interesting. That's a good word. Have you been reading your Bible lately?
Maybe.
Buckets and Bibles?
Just a little bit.
That's awesome. So a central part of Trump's agenda has been implementing the largest deportation operation in U.S. history, which I submit is still not large enough. Like, for what we're spending and the amount of resources we've allocated to this, like, we were promised on day one a wave.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a wave yet. And I hear from all these people all the time in the comments, probably right now, somebody's furiously typing, you got to give it time. You know, they came in over the last 20 years. Trump's been in office 100 days. I am holding people accountable to their own words. On day one was said hundreds of times during the campaign, hundreds of times within the first 100 days. We're past day one. And so either you lied to me, you don't actually have the horsepower to do what you said you were going to do, or you never intended to do it on day one in the first place. So you lied to me and you pandered. So in either case, screw you. I didn't say on day one, they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Well, it's not like they didn't have their hand in the cookie jar the whole time, strategically making moves. You know, we know this.
Yeah.
You know, like you didn't have the title, but you were still doing stuff.
Oh, well, that's the whole QAnon thing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
he was never not president anyway.
Oh, good.
You know, but he was on the back. He was running the Flynn network. They were back there making things happen. It's shut up, dude. Like shut up. And
So you're telling me this is his third term?
pretty much, pretty much. That's what they're saying. And probably not. If I had to just,
Right.
venture a guess, probably not. That's probably not the case.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me the depths of creativity people will go to find something to believe in at the physical level, and the hoops they will jump through to concoct a story that's not believable at all, but it scratches all their little itches in order for them to feel good about themselves. Versus, like, you guys know I'm a biblical literalist.
Yep.
I'm a constitutional literalist. What does it say?
Right.
Why can't we just believe what it says?
Yep.
Instead of all this make-believe stuff, let's just believe what it says. All right, so in an interview last month with Meet the Press, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, yes, of course, these immigrants are going to be given due process. However, Trump isn't so sure. Quote, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Actually, that's not what he said. He said, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Trump replied when asked by Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker whether he agreed with Rubio. And so here's the point. Rubio said, yes, you're going to get due process. Trump said, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. And now Meet the Press is saying, Trump is saying that he's not going to afford due process to these these newcomers, these undocumented workers, illegal immigrants, which is a violation of the Fifth Amendment, and therefore we're in a constitutional crisis. I'm going to try and refrain from saying bad words.
Same.
So I'll just say bull honky. I believe this is bull honky
Yep.
and completely inaccurate reporting.
Well, yes, totally agree. But side note, is the Constitution reserved for those who are actually citizens of these United States?
That's what we don't know. And see, that's the thing. The Constitution doesn't delineate between a citizen and a non-citizen.
Right.
And so the constitutional argument is, does it assume citizen? Is citizen assumed? Are all these rights that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights assuming citizenship, or are they just for everybody? And that's kind of the fundamental argument between conservatives and liberals right now. I mean, Barack Hussein Obama, during his entire campaign and then his 8 years in office, and then his years 9 through 12 under the Biden regime, was very fond of saying that the Constitution is a living document, open for interpretation. Yes, if you amend it.
Right.
There's a provision for amending the Constitution in the Constitution. So if 2/3 of us agree, oh, we need to change that. Okay, cool. We can add to or take away from. Comma, do not add to or take away from the word of this law. What does it say? Literally.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a side note. It has always amazed me how many conservatives are constitutional literalists, but they're biblically creative, which is higher than the other in authority. Is it the Constitution, or is it the Word of God? Right? So the Constitution we take literally, but the Word of God we're happy to cherry pick and choose in order to suit my personal needs and what I think it should say. So the Constitution assumes citizenship, I believe.
Right.
Right? And that's why it doesn't have the need to delineate between citizen and non-citizen. So who has what rights? Now, I'm not saying that we should herd all of the women and children into concentration camps. I'm not for that. There should be some level of due process, if you will. They should be processed. There should be a process for this, comma. That looks different than you or I, because we are citizens, natural born citizens of this country. And then the liberals will go, well, what makes you different than them? We're all people. You just happen to be born here. 100%. I did.
That's kind of the point, though.
I also happen to have been paying taxes more than I have not been in my life.
Right.
I have given the federal government millions and millions and millions of dollars, right, at an interest-free loan the majority of my life. Okay, I think I'm afforded due process as a natural-born citizen. Unlike these people who aren't citizens, didn't engage in due process when they came here, shouldn't be afforded due process on their way back out, and have extracted from the system, haven't poured into the system. Granted, the Biden regime and others created the opportunity for this to take place in the first place. So where does blame ultimately land? Bad leadership. But these people who came in under bad leadership, you still reap what you sow.
Right.
Like there was a gamble. They took a risk when they came here. Just like I'm an entrepreneur. I take risks every day, calculated risk every day. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Well, they took a risk. It didn't work. Didn't pan out. Okay. So at least in this case, they're not going to die. You just can't stay here. Nobody's saying round them into camps, gas them all, dig mass graves. It's just you just can't stay here anymore. You can, and I do think that this was good nuance from the Trump administration of saying, if you self-deport, if you just go ahead and go, you can come back legally. But if you don't self-deport and we have to deport you, then you can't come back legally for 20 years. I thought that was a good mechanism.
Totally agree.
So,
and of course, that none of what you have said flies in the face or goes against those who are actually going through the process or those who have become naturalized citizens.
Yep.
That's an incredibly important factor. Because I myself, I know quite a few individuals who are phenomenal people who have gone through the process. Mm-hmm. Some from Europe, some from Mexico, all over the world, some from Africa, who have gone through the process, become naturalized citizens, and have stated, your laws are my laws.
Yep.
That's a profound statement.
There is one Torah for the Israelite and the sojourner within their gates.
No, I was thinking in my head the whole time.
There's one set of laws.
Yeah,
that's it.
100%.
Because unequal weights and measures are an abomination. Right? We can't have, but two-tier justice system, we already have that.
Yeah.
Right? So if the liberals are all like, no, we have a two-tier justice system. 2 words, Hillary Clinton. Okay? I'm not suicidal. I didn't kill myself. I didn't shoot myself in the back of the head 3 times. I'm not going to have a boating accident. Okay? Hillary Rodham Clinton. All right? We already have a 2-tier justice system. Mm-hmm. If you have enough money, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, if a single mom overdrafts her bank account, right? You do that enough times, she will have charges filed against her.
Yeah.
But if the bank is going bankrupt because they didn't have the appropriate checks and balances and engaged in some sketchy, bookkeeping and invested in things that they shouldn't have been investing in, the government will bail them out and they'll get a slap on the wrist. That's 2-tier.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, though. You heard of ICE 9?
Mm-mm.
ICE 9 is a banking principle.
It sounds like a drug. Sorry, I have a background.
It's a banking bylaw that the banks established to basically state that they will never utilize the government for bailout, and what they enact is what's called bail-ins. So if you are trusting your money with the bank,
Right.
and it gets bad enough to where the banks, we're talking JP Morgan, Santander, Bank of America, like all of these massive world banks, if you're trusting your money to them, no, that's their money. That's the way they see it. They commandeer your funds and bail themselves out.
What happened to FDIC though? How do these two unequal weights and balances are
Right.
an abomination?
Yep.
Right.
Now, we've not seen ICE 9 yet,
Okay.
is the thing.
So is this relatively new?
Really, since 2008, it's been kind of on the back burners because the bankers have been like, we'll never bow the knee to Nancy Pelosi again, because they literally had to grovel and beg at the feet of Nancy Pelosi just to ask for a bailout.
Isn't there a bill right now that the Pelosi bill that like the acronym of the bill is literally Pelosi? Let me look that up real quick. We're still a little show. We don't have a researcher. I can't say, hey Jamie, pull that up.
Right.
I don't have a Jamie yet.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
You got to be named Jamie, though. If you're a Jamie out there.
Congress.gov. The Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, PELOSI, Pelosi Act.
That is great.
Yep. Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments. So 118th Congress, the bill prohibits members of Congress or their spouses from holding or trading certain investments. That's a bill, not a law. Okay? Probably will never become a law, but it's a bill. Prohibits members of Congress or their spouses from holding or trading certain investments, e.g. individual stocks and related financial instruments other than diversified investment funds, so like a mutual fund. You could own a mutual fund, or U.S. Treasury securities, so you could own bonds. The prohibition does not apply to assets held in a qualified blind trust. Okay, so there's our workaround. Or to sales by a member to come into compliance with the bill's requirements. Specifically, the bill allows for sales by current members during the 180 days following the bill's enactment, and for sales by future members during the 180 days following the commencement of their service. So you got a 6-month grace period on either side of becoming elected to liquidate your stuff in order to come into compliance. Any profit made in violation of the prohibition must be disgorged to the Treasury and may subject the member to a civil fine. Can we just get to criminal fines? Like, I think that'd be super cool. Civil fine is pay me some money, slap on the wrist. Criminal fines, oh, you need that?
No, I'm showing you.
I can see it over here. You're doing great. You're not
you.
Jamie, though.
No, I know.
You're Dudley.
Exactly, I'm better.
Can I say pull it up, Dudley?
Yes.
Okay, I'm allowed to say
As
that?
long as I can spell it.
That's true. This is our first time ever doing this.
I gotta say, the
Ice9.
system is very impressive. Great job.
Try.
Sean Skelton says Ice9 is a great band name.
Right.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like a drug.
It
Yeah.
does. Sounds like ecstasy or something.
Yeah, yo, man, let me get some of that Ice9. Oh, have you tried Ice10? It's crazy. It's one better than Ice9.
It's so great that that bill that's being introduced is a Pelosi acronym.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but there's like Instagram pages, X accounts, and all of that. That's all they do is follow the trades that Pelosi does, and then share them to profit off of them.
I wish I could remember his name. I'd give him credit, but there's one guy on X that I follow on X. By the way, I'm on X. If you're on there, find me. It's at Bear Slays Pedos. So
Yes.
you'll find it. The guy's on his 4th account, I think, where he takes $10, and trades it up to $1 million. He's done this 3 times already, and he's in the process of doing it a 4th time by simply mirroring Nancy Pelosi's trades. That's all he's doing. And he's like, if this lady doesn't have insider information, she's a prophet. And she ain't no prophet.
Right.
So, yeah. PROFIT, not a PROPHET. It's interesting you bring that up, the Pelosi bill and all that, because A written brief coming to us from the Dance Monkeys. In a recent interview that may serve to reassure those concerned about executive overreach, the same interview that everybody's saying we now have a constitutional crisis, President Donald Trump made his clear statement yet about respecting constitutional term limits and preparing for an orderly transfer of power in 2028. So he's only going to have 2 terms. Yeah, asterisk. Trust the plan. Q. Speaking with NBC's Meet the Press, I mean, so here's the thing. I just have to, because people will say, X is a dangerous place to get information from. It's not intel, by the way. Intel is actionable, right? And we never do a thing from single source intelligence, so it always has to be corroborated. If Jody's like, hey man, they're giving away free coffees up the street, and I'm like, okay. And then Heath also says, hey dude, they're giving away free coffees up the street. Okay, I've got 2 sources now, right? Now what if it was like something really important? Like, you got to do this or you're going to die. I might want to seek some counsel. In the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established, right?
Yep.
So X is information, not intelligence. And a lot of the information that's provided is not intelligent.
Yeah.
Just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
But it's a super interesting thing because there's a lot of chatter that's like, term limits won't matter because the United States of America will be gone by the end of Trump's current term, in which case he can totally run again in 2028 because it'll be a different country. I don't know. Maybe? Possible?
Anything to rationalize the narrative.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Anything to rationalize the narrative. See, I can't accept reality, so I'm going to make up some make-believe stuff that makes me feel better about the reality. Versus, maybe consider this. Pull back from your existential crisis rectangles a little bit to where the make-believe isn't actually informing your reality. Because the sky and the grass and the dirt and the water are way more real than this silicon life form that's in my hand. Way more real. Your brothers, your sisters, your family, your friends, your creator are way more real than this little existential crisis rectangle. And if you even think about the posture that you're in when you're looking at it, head down, shoulders slumped, near-term focused, nearsighted, right? Like everything about that's bad, right? Versus, right? And from like a leadership standpoint, you should always be looking up and out.
That's right.
Always be looking up and out, not down and in. Subordinate leadership can look down and in. Leadership needs to look up and out. I need to be able to assess whatever threats are out there, see them on the horizon and deal with them, give myself as much standoff and time as possible. That's why Gideon, when he's going to war, he's got 10,000 guys, right? 10,000, praise Yah, 10,000 dudes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dudes. It's too many dudes for this operation. So it's like, which ones do I bring? Spirit says, watch them drink water. And 300 guys bring the water to their face. 9,700 dudes put their face in the water. What's the difference? Face in the water, you lose all of this context, all this situational awareness. Face up, bring the water to your face. I haven't compromised my situational awareness at all.
Right.
Because getting water is a tactical exercise, and predators hunt at the watering holes. And predators hunt at the watering holes. It's the same thing when you're putting your face into this stupid little black rectangle of death every day. And we're all guilty of it. I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. But I try and remind myself, hey, that thing's not real. That thing's make-believe. They used to call TVs idiot boxes. Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a different
Super
idiot
real.
box.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a mobile one.
A mobile, yeah, it follows you around everywhere.
Yeah.
We pay money to be propagandized. We carry this thing around in our pocket every day as if it's somehow more real than everything else that's around us.
Right.
That we're not seeing because our eyes aren't up and out. Our eyes are down and in on this stupid little idiot box. But I digress. So Trump, 2-term president. Previously, he's refused to rule out the possibility of seeking a 3rd term, saying that there are methods to do so. Moreover, Steve Bannon, if you remember that name, chief executive of Trump's 2016 campaign and White House chief strategist, has said that we're going someplace with this. has said that Trump is looking for loopholes to sidestep the constitutional rule preventing a third term for any president. There are methods which you could do it. Quote, there are methods which you could do it. President Trump is going to be eligible, is going to run again, and will win again, he had said. Recently on his own podcast, Bannon said, quote, I will tell you, on the afternoon of the 20th of January, 2029, Trump is going to be in the White House signing executive orders. End quote. I don't know. Currently, Trump's administration is continuing to face pushback from organized opposition groups as civil discontent continues unresolved. We can pause here for a minute. With nationwide protests occurring most recently on May Day 2025, these demonstrations drew over 70,000 people across all 50 states, with protesters voicing concerns about job cuts to federal agencies, immigration policies, economic impacts of tariffs, and most notably, the billionaire takeover of the federal government. Organizers' website read, quote, we are demanding a country that puts our families over their fortunes, public schools over private profits, healthcare over hedge funds, and prosperity over free market politics, end quote.
You mean the 70,000 people who were getting paid to essentially do nothing for the jobs that they were getting paid for by the government?
Yes, those people.
Yeah. Full malarkey again.
So you brought up insider trading earlier,
Sure.
okay? These people, public servants, get paid 140, 160,000 a year. That's good money.
Yeah.
It's not great money, but that's good money. And they argue, well, I have to have two residences, one amongst my constituents back home in my home state, my home district, and one in Washington, D.C., one of the most expensive cities on planet Earth. I've got to have more money. I need a raise. Elon even talked about this. He said if we paid each one of these reps $1 million a year, that would limit the likelihood that they could be bought and paid for by outside influence because they would need the money less. Actually pretty wise. But these people make 160K a year, 180K maybe. But they come to Congress with a net worth measured in maybe the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Maybe. And net worth is different than liquidity, right? Net worth, it's like the value of your house, the value of maybe your vehicles, depending on what your tax structure is. If you have a business, like I have Refuge Medical, right? And Bear Independent and all these other businesses that I do. Like my net worth on paper is $91.5 million.
A paper.
There's a $20 bill in my wallet. Okay? So net worth and liquidity are two different things. And so they have a net worth, to say nothing of what their liquidity is. They have a net worth measured in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, most of which is in their house, right? Probably. And then they go to Washington. And now all of a sudden their net worth is measured in tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, I mean, really,
Joe,
it's
what are you thinking?
No, I'm not going to say it.
do it.
It's corruption, man.
It
It's
is.
buy-offs, it's payoffs, it's backroom handshakes. You know, you do this, I do that.
Yeah, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And
I think it's a hustle in government that used to be like okay until it turned out like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to see it, you know. If they can't get you through a deal, they'll get you through blackmail,
Yeah.
you know.
So that's correct. It's carrot and stick.
Exactly.
Right? The carrot's the sacks of cash. The stick is, and this is something that like most nice people, most normal people are completely oblivious to, but this is factually correct based upon my experience and firsthand knowledge. I want Jody to vote yes on this bill, okay? So me and Jody, we're gonna go get a cup of coffee. I say, hey, Jode, here's how this is gonna go down. This bill's coming up. I need your support on this bill.
What's in it for me?
What's in it for you is when you're campaigning in this upcoming campaign season in your district, I'm gonna put $1 million into your campaign account, okay? Now, where it goes after that campaign finance that's none of my business. Maybe 90% of it goes to the campaign, and then, or 100% of it goes to the campaign, but you have campaign expenses like a house, a car, a vacation, a wine cellar, whatever. Okay?
Slush fund.
XRP, right? Whatever your campaign finance decides, right? Which is why we have such terrible campaign finance laws. But I'm going to pour $1 million into your campaign. I need your support on this bill. Okay, and maybe you're like, you know, I'd love to, man, but I just can't. This bill doesn't align with my values, my morals, my ethics. I can't do it. Okay, so the carrot is this $1 million to your campaign. The stick is, okay, that's crazy. You know, man, I don't want to say this about your family because like words have power, but we'll now say Bill. Bill won't vote yes. I got Jody's vote, okay? Jody's in. He's like, $1 million for my campaign, sounds good. But Bill over here, Bill won't play ball. And I'm like, okay, Bill, understood. By the way, how's Susie doing? She looks great in that yellow sundress that she's wearing today in Miss Smith's 3rd grade class. Second row from the front, right there by the window. She doing good in math? She get her timetables down? I know she's been struggling with that. It'd be a real shame if something was to happen. You know, the world is so unpredictable. And what I'm telling you is, I know where your children are. My intel is so fresh that I know what she's wearing today, what her homework looks like, exactly where she is in this building, which means I probably have eyes on her or can put eyes on her, and I can take her from you. That's the stick.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so now, what you're forced to do is either compromise your morals and ethics and get $1 million in the process, which you'll rationalize away. Well, I don't like this, but at least I could take that $1 million and I could do good with it. Or they're going to take my kid. They're going to hurt my family. They're going to whatever. And then, because you've taken the $1 million down the road, it's like, hey, Jode, we really appreciated your support on that bill. That was excellent. Listen, some of us are getting together, friend's house. Why don't you come over? You're like, I don't really want to. And you're like, why don't you come over? You're like, okay, because you already know. I'll be the bad guy. You already know. I got tabs on you, your family. I know your pattern of life, all of that. Do you even 3-letter agency, bro? Okay. They're not allowed to operate on American soil. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right. I know your pattern of life. I probably have all your shit tagged. I have all your selectors. I said a bad word. Sorry, fam. I'm trying. I'm really trying. I have all your selectors. I know everything there is to know about you. I know you better than you do, right? Because I have an army of nerds in basements with computers that are tracking you. I'm like, why don't you come to my friend's house? You come to my friend's house, and my friend is Jeffrey Epstein. My friend is P. Diddy. Or my friend is that Harvey guy, Harvey Weinstein, okay? And now you're here, and you're like a supporting actor in Eyes Wide Shut. You remember that movie?
Yep.
And you're like, what is going on here? And you're like, do the thing, Jode. You're like, I can't do the thing. It's like, you will do the thing. So now you do the thing.
Or even if you don't do the thing, they have photo evidence just that you were even there.
I got you into my flight logs, right? I got you travel plans. You were at the thing. Maybe you didn't do the thing. Do you have any credibility to say, I didn't do the thing? Well, then why were you there? So there's implied consent because you participated, right?
Yep.
And then maybe you do the thing and you like the thing. Ooh. Oh. So now you're compromised. I got you 3 different ways. I got you on campaign finance. I got you leveraged because you went to my friend's house with me. And I've got you on pattern of life and threat to your family.
Yep.
And that's politics in America 2025 and has been that way for a long time. So when everybody talks about Epstein worked for Mossad, and yeah, but who was the Mossad working for? The CIA. Dirty little secret, by the way. Per law, the United States cannot spy on its own citizens. So we don't. Britain and Australia do it for us. You ever heard of the 5 Eyes, the intelligence community? And we spy on all their people, and we just swap information. So we didn't spy on our people. The British did that. Okay, cool. So we're in compliance with the law, but I still have all the data. Thank you very much. And also, we still spy on our people all the time.
Yeah.
It's not spying, especially when you get back to existential crisis rectangles, because in the United States of America, if you emit it, it's perfectly legal to collect it. Patriot Act, says Mike from the line over there packing orders. So, which brings me to this. We are demanding a country that puts our families over their fortunes. Public schools over private profits, healthcare over hedge funds, prosperity over free market politics. Question. Where were these people when George Soros was running the World Economic Forum, during the Clinton campaign and presidency, during the Biden campaign and presidency, during the Obama campaign and presidency, during COVID-19 that saw the largest diminishment of the middle class, transfer of wealth from the middle class to the upper class in the history of the world, during the Ukraine conflict, where money was laundered, taxpayer money was laundered through Ukraine, through Act Blue, back to Democrats here in the United States of America, to the point where even Zelensky's like, I'm missing $100 billion. You never sent it to me. I don't have it. Where is it? Not that he can be trusted either.
Right.
During NAFTA, where over the last 30 to 40 years, all of our manufacturing was given away to third world countries.
Yep.
During this, we're concerned about public schools, but we can push taxpayer-funded gender ideology. And in the state of Oklahoma, right here, the literacy rate is 30%. 30%, which people are going to go, flyover country, of course, it's Oklahoma. But in Illinois, it's 11%. Okay? 11%. And we've never spent more than we do right now on public schools. But 89% of kids can't read in Illinois. 70% in Oklahoma can't read at their grade level. All right. And then the insider trading, the Pelosi Act. We know this is happening. They trolled her by naming the bill after her. The printer's saying, what's up? So, thoughts, commentary on that?
I mean, it really kind of speaks for itself. The proof is in the pudding. You know, there's so many different ways to say it. But
Every point that you made is like the point that the news medias everywhere should be making, because they're all valid. It's BS and it's hypocritical. And it's the change, the wool over our eyes that most of us have allowed for the last 30 years is now catching up to us.
Yeah.
It's now catching up to us because people didn't stand up when things were easy and good. Nobody's now all of it's gotten to this point. So where do we go from here? You know?
So, where do we go from here? There's conflicting opinions on whether or not we're going to have another summer of love this summer, as far as like civil unrest, protests, all that. Mike Shelby at Forward Observer, Gray Zone Activity, does a lot of really good work. I'm on his daily email blast, the Forward Observer email. I think it's like $10 a month or something.
Yeah.
You get a little 5 to 7 minute intel brief every day in the mail. And guys, I get a lot of emails, like a lot of emails. And that's one of the emails I get every day that I actually read.
yeah.
And so Mike Shelby is of the opinion that he doesn't see the funding or coordination, enough mass at this point on the far left to have a summer of love this summer. And he may be correct. On the flip side, you've got S2 Underground, and I am a very busy person, but I watch S2's little intel briefs. They're like 2 to 5 minutes every day. Very good, very straight to the point.
Yep.
I'm like, I covet his ability to use brevity. I'm incapable of that level of brevity, right? Like I've got it. We've read 2 articles, and here this will be an hour-long show today, right? Because I have to comment. I just have to. But S2 has these really good 2 to 5 minute briefs that he puts out every day, and S2 has been battle tracking on a map all these different incidents which is awesome because I'm a highly visual person. I want to see the map. What does it look like, right? And S2 has made the case that it's possible that we could have a summer of love based upon what he's seeing. But we know all of these bad actors, all these protesters are paid. They're paid protesters. There's been a lot of good work that's been done here of tracking the selectors, the cell phones. How many times have I said, if you're going to go do something sketchy, leave your phone at home?
Yeah.
I've said it 100 times to the camera. I've said it several hundred more times to my brothers. If you're going to go do something sketchy, leave your phone at home. Well, they don't. These protesters don't, because they need to have their phone with them to prove that they were there protesting so that they can get paid. And so it's the same selectors, the same cell phones that show up at all these different rallies and protests all across the country. Kamala Harris, when she was campaigning, it was the same cell phones in every city where she had an event that would show up. 80% of them were the same people that were literally bussed in. So where's that money coming from? Well, Soros is just...
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, did George Soros just stop working?
Right, but he retired from the World Economic Forum.
But did
Sure. Yeah, sure he did. Just like, what's his face from Berkshire Hathaway just retired, right?
What is his name?
I could see his name.
Not
Warren Buffett.
Thank you.
Uncle Warren.
Thank you.
Yep, Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
You don't he's still Warren Buffett.
Exactly.
You don't think he has sway over Berkshire Hathaway? You don't
right.
think he can pick up a phone and make
You
a
mean
call?
the man who held about 80% of his wealth in stocks, and he said it's always going to be that way, and now almost all of his wealth is in liquid?
Yeah, that guy. Yep. Yeah, indicator.
Right.
Indicator. Yeah, when Warren Buffett goes liquid, indicator.
That's a factor.
So, who's paying these protesters? I don't know. But somebody's paying them.
Right.
And so the question is, will we have a summer of love? And if so, how does that affect us? Which comes all the way back around to basic preparedness stuff. Can you stay home for a week or two? If the answer to I can't stay home, if the answer to that question is no, I can't stay home for a week or two, please go watch the Prepper Classroom. It's a free playlist at this channel, and it's 28 or 30 episodes, whiteboard episodes of just explain like I'm 5. What does basic preparedness look like? I'm also going to be filming an update to that, the Prepper Classroom 201, in the coming weeks, where I'm going to go back through with 5 years of experience since COVID and having pressure tested all of my own theses over the last 5 years. What do I need to amend?
Right.
Because it's already excellent information, but how much more have I learned since then? And that'll be coming in the near future, so stay tuned for that. But as far as these social agitators, it's not organic. These uprisings aren't organic, and there's a big machine somewhere that's paying these uprisers to go protest visually, so that the news machine that nobody watches anymore, but still somehow has some level of legitimacy, will report on it to create a narrative that Orange Man bad, we're all gonna die, this is the end of our democracy, blah, 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 and then we all go head down into the rectangle and eat it.
Well, how much of this is, you know, we've spoken amongst ourselves about the idea of two wings of a same bird.
Yep.
Right. You know, within the ideas of the spiritual realm and black magic and just things that are evil, you have the light side and the good side. Mm-hmm. There is no, like, a witch is a witch, right?
Right.
Whether it's good witch or bad witch, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
They're both an abomination to the Most High.
Yeah. Yep.
How much of this is light side versus dark side? We've seen such a depravity of the dark side to where now the light side has to come in only to devour.
Mm-hmm. Think about, like, professional sports, right? I don't really follow sports anymore. I'd much rather play sports than watch sports. But you got two teams, right? Yankees and the Red Sox. Let's just go with that, okay? When they're on the field, their goal is win, right?
Right.
Perform for the people. knock the ball out of the park, literally. When they're off the field, man, in the locker room, they're going to talk some trash. But afterwards, they're going to the same parties.
Yep.
They're represented by the same agents.
Yep.
They're competing for the same brand deals with the same companies. And they trade players back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? Same player, different uniform.
Yep.
And maybe they're really passionate about their sport. Right? They hit the gym. They do their cardio. They're doing their 2-a-days. They're doing it, man. But it's a sport, right? And politics has very much so become that way in America.
Right.
It's just a different uniform.
Right.
Right. And we've seen that in the Trump presidency. Tulsi, the director of national intelligence, used to be a Democrat, but now she's a Trump Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Kennedy used to be a Democrat, but now he's a Trump Republican. Blah, 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 blah.
Trump used to consider himself a Democrat.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Trump donated to the Clintons.
Right.
Now, here's another thing, though, because people bring that up all the time. Do you guys remember that controversy with Black Rifle Coffee? It's like they donated to Obama's campaign. Yeah, like $1,000. It wasn't $1 million, right?
Right.
A smart business person donates to both. To both. So that you have friends on either side, regardless of who gets elected.
Right.
You donate to both. And that's that's something that most people can't understand, because most people have a very limited amount of expendable revenue, disposable revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Dispendable is not a word. They have a very small amount of overhead that they can give away. So they're going to pick the team that they like and support that politician or buy that player's jersey or whatever, right? And why do they have a small amount of expendable income? Because your money is worthless and the economy is garbage, and that's all intentional to keep you under their thumb, so you'll need the government more.
How many people or entities or what have you out there fund both sides of the war? Name a war.
That's the oldest game in the book. It's the Hegelian dialectic.
Right.
And how many entities? The answer is one, but you're not allowed to talk about that on the internet because you get everybody very upset. Can't talk trash about Middle Eastern New Jersey. Everybody, ah! But I digress. But yeah, that's the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis.
Right.
If I can fund both sides of this conflict, doesn't matter who wins. I'm getting paid, homie.
Yep.
And I'm literally getting paid off of blood, sweat, and tears. Literally.
Yep.
Is that righteous? No, it's not righteous. And in the process, we'll get paid to not just fund the war, but then you begin to create conflicts, to create war, because it's your business model that I get paid off of war, military-industrial complex.
Yep.
And then we'll report on the war, because if it bleeds, it leads. And now we have all the ad revenue from the reporting on that. And we're controlling the narrative, good guys, bad guys, to further perpetuate warfare. And it's this big, ugly cycle. Yeah. General Smedley Butler. If you don't know who that is, Google it. War is a racket. So we're about out of time for today's show. You got anything you want to tell the people?
Nope. Except for I love them and read their Bible and do what it says.
You don't want to tell them to go to your Friday night Bible live streams?
Oh,
Buckets of
shameless
Bibles?
plug.
You
Friday
should.
nights, get on Buckets of Bibles. We do a live stream.
It's good.
It is good.
We battle false doctrine.
Absolutely.
We start talking about Middle Eastern New Jersey, and now we're buffering. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
That's right. Maybe we'll catch it on the video side.
Yeah.
Pete,
Of
you got
course.
anything to say?
You know, I don't. I've taken quite a step back from my YouTube channel and all of that. You know, it all comes down to the idea of we got to love people. We got to be walking in the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, trustworthiness, and self-control. Self-control of which being the most overlooked fruit of the Spirit across the board. So analyze yourselves. Utilize that fruit of the Spirit to calibrate yourself as a tool. You don't want to be overbearing, but you don't want to be under strength as well.
Mm-hmm.
Calibrate yourself.
Amen.
I like it.
Let's see. Raran.
Raran!
Ryan?
Laura's got little legs.
You've been summoned.
Just talking.
It's true. She
It's,
runs like a Shetland pony.
It is Monday around here.
Stand, Dudley. I don't know what that means.
Here, come right here. You use this chair.
Camera.
Oh, Mike.
Yes,
I'll hold the mic for you.
I think I turned it on.
Check, chickadee, check.
It's Lauren
Check,
here to
check.
Is
show.
it checking?
I can't see myself, so I don't even know if I'm
Sorry.
standing in the right place.
Sit.
Oh.
Sit.
Sit down, camera left.
That's your camera right there.
Oh. Hi. I'm Lauren. Or Rorin.
Ryan?
It's R-A-W-E-N.
Oh, hello, Ryan.
Hello. I'm here because I do the shilling for this right here. Guys, our BOGO event is live, and because of an awesome person, buckets are now included. Did you know that?
Yes.
Buckets are now included. So we really wanted to make sure for Stop the Bleed Month that we helped you guys prepare. One kit is not enough. Heath and I were talking about this yesterday. You're not taking your travel pack that's meant for your car out into the grocery store with you and everywhere you're going. So that's why you need to have an EDC kit. You need to have a kit for your boat, for
Is
your
the
car,
camera
for
on
your
her?
bus.
Okay, cool.
It's just got a lag.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
that's why we did. Were you guys gonna tell me this is backwards? I'm just sitting here like, this is what we sell.
It wasn't backwards.
Boom.
Breathe,
We're
Lauren.
back. Sorry,
You're
guys.
doing great.
So anyways, buckets are buy one, get one 30% off. All of our kits are buy one 30% off.
Hold on.
And,
Hold
okay,
on.
Yes.
We don't sell first aid kits.
No,
We sell
mind.
peace of mind.
Yeah.
Okay? There's lots of people that sell first aid kits. They're not very good. You get one from us, you're going to know that it's going to work because 144 people are still alive because we showed up to work.
100%.
Praise the Most High.
Yep.
And so if you need to one and done your peace of mind from a medical standpoint, we're the company for you. If you want to engage in foreign-made overseas bull crap that may or may not work, we are not the company for you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. You're welcome to do that. We make things in America. We guarantee them forever. And I know that they work because 144 people are still alive. So we don't sell first aid kits. We sell peace of mind. And we deliver on the preservation of life through things like first aid kits and burn buckets and training and all these things that we do as a company. So
It's not like Amazon where you're gonna get it and the moment you open the bag the zipper breaks and then you're like, wow, if the zipper's gonna break, what's the tourniquet gonna do? Right?
break.
So break for sure. If you get it from Amazon, don't do that. And one of the things that we really want to start doing is maximizing the educational content that we have going out. We had a really cool meeting last week, and somebody brought up the fact that, like, if you're gonna buy a refuge kit but you refuse to learn how to use it, why have it, right? Because if you're gonna have the gear, you should know how to use it. So you also get the remote responder for free right now with every order over $2.99, and we actually have a meeting today about that. We're really excited about that. And we have Train the Trainer, and I think we only have like, how many spots
Like
left do we
2.
have? We're like at the end. So if you have been wanting to take a class and then you can turn around and teach others with our curriculum, come to Train the Trainer. It is May 18th. We've got a couple spots left.
And I am so stoked about Train the Trainer.
It's gonna be awesome.
I am super excited to train the trainer.
Yeah.
I love teaching, and I love teaching people this stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I'm stoked. I'm
gonna
gonna
be
be
awesome.
here. Mike's gonna be here. Heath's gonna be here, and you're
I'll be
gonna.
here.
Lauren will be here. You're gonna leave with our curriculum and our approval to teach it,
Yeah.
and that we've never done that before. But it's very in line with our ethos as far as force multiplication is concerned.
Right.
Because I've been saying for 5 years, I can't teach everyone. I want you to go home and teach your people.
What an opportunity.
What an opportunity,
Amen.
dude. And so
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing.
And you're leaving with, you're not just like, oh, I have to try and remember all of these things. We're giving you our curriculum, and it's not like anybody else's. It's not your, oh, this is your normal submarine
Yep.
class where we never open the tourniquet. It's not like that. It's legit.
Yeah, there will be note taking. Also, since we're going to be streaming it to our friends anyway, that streaming link afterwards, I want to provide to everybody in the class
Ooh, for review.
for review afterwards
Yeah.
because we have a lot of material to cover in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be times when we're teaching where I'm going to say, write that down. And if they didn't get an opportunity to write it down in the fray, they can go back, review, and adjust their notes after the fact so they can have that for reference as well.
Well, and then think about people who are going to go out and actually hold a class. They may start feeling nervous beforehand. And it's a great way, watch it again
Yep.
before, so you really have it solid, because it takes how many times to like get something to settle in your brain?
Oh my
and
gosh.
stick?
Well, it depends on who you read, 7 to 11 times, but the rule is 10,000 hours. If you've done something for 10,000 hours, you're now an expert.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So,
Good job,
Yeah.
Roran.
thanks.
Thank you so
struggle
much.
watching, okay.
You're doing great. You're doing great. All right. Let's see. A couple other details to handle. Grindstoneministries.com. If you don't have a Bible and you need one, you can get one at our cost at grindstoneministries.com. Links are in the description for all this stuff, by the way. And if you can't afford a Bible, come see us at grindstoneministries.com and we will send you one for free. If you'd like to deploy to do disaster relief with grindstoneministries.com, then reach out to us via the website and absolutely sign up for the email blast. We don't spam you. We don't sell your email list to anybody else so that you can be like, you know, targeted email marketing campaign. We don't do any of that. It's our primary method of communication when Grindstone is up, meaning when a town or a city or even just a rural homestead has been smashed by a hurricane or a tornado. That's how we tell you we are going. You will get a warn ord, then an op ord via email. And so if you're not on that email, you're not going to find out. And so it's a huge blessing to be able to go and love our neighbor as ourselves.
Amen.
Because not everybody has the love language of chainsaws and diesel fuel, but we do. And when your love language is chainsaws and diesel fuel, there's all the other excellent ministries that are out there. It's not a great fit for you to plug in. It's not for me a great fit to plug in. My heart's in the right place, but my skill set doesn't line up.
Yep.
Right? But when there's a 5-foot diameter oak tree on somebody's house, I get excited. I'm like, heck yeah, man, this is awesome. Oh, we got to pull the 881 out. It's going to be a good day.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And so, the 40-ton track hoe is not big enough. Bring me a 90-ton. Woo! We're partying, right?
Yeah.
And so it's for people that have calluses on their hands. It's a great opportunity to serve, and it's called ministries plural, because what you don't realize, what's going to ambush you, is when you get out there and you start helping people who have lost every physical thing they've ever had.
Yeah.
You don't realize that the Spirit and your brothers and sisters are actually ministering to you. And so that's why the logo is a double-edged sword, because one half of the ministry is loving our neighbor as ourselves. The other half of the ministry is getting loved on and reproved and instructed while you're serving. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They don't have that expectation when they come, and then they're there for 3 to 10 days and they leave a different person.
Yeah.
They're like, this was like a life-changing event for me.
Life-changing on both sides is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
For the
100%.
people that we serve, and you will not leave the same person as you came.
100%. And it's addicting for
Yeah.
me. I get spiritually in a place sometimes where I'm like, I have to go to court.
Yeah.
I have to.
Well, I mean, on that note, so we had Selmer, Tennessee, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, maybe.
Yep.
And wrapping up just the night before we pulled out, we just had a little powwow, and everybody talking about where they come from, how they heard about Grindstone. A lot of them naturally through Bear Independent. But with that said, it's a common theme where we end up with grown men in tears because they feel like they're going through life alone.
Yep.
And they found their people with the same passion of chainsaws and diesel fuel.
Yep.
And they leave out where before they were alone doing life and questioning everything, and now they feel like they have a purpose and they have brothers to hold them to a standard. And they feel spiritually restored.
Yep.
It's a big deal. It's a massive factor that happens throughout every deployment.
Yep. Facts. Which is why I get to a place where I gotta have one.
Yeah,
I gotta have a deployment.
yeah,
So
I get it.
And Kyle has done an awesome job, and Dudley's done an awesome job, and Waffles, and you guys, and Sister Cindy, and Amy in the background. Everybody has done an awesome job. It's surreal for me. Grindstone started with me in a minivan,
Yeah,
right? And now there are deployments that Grindstone goes on that I don't go on. I want to, but I'm busy doing other things, right?
Right.
I'm pastoring over here. I got a speaking event over here or whatever. And I'm like, I'm texting with Kyle furiously, like, I want to go, but I can't go. I was like, or like, I'll be there in a week. Save some for me, right? And he's like, oh, there's plenty. Don't worry. You know? But it's been so cool to watch it prosper and grow and see the Father bless it. But it's still, you know, it's like the training wheels have come off. You know, you taught your kid to ride a bike.
we still got a
and
little
now
teeter
now the
totter,
wheels
you
are
know.
off, but they're just cruising down the driveway. You know, and they're like, "Watch me, Dad!" And you're like, "Oh my gosh!" You know, but it's really cool. It's really cool to see how it has grown and the impact that it has had.
Amen.
The kingdom impact that Grindstone Ministries has had is unquantifiable. We have given away thousands of Bibles. We've moved millions of tons of debris and millions of pounds of food and served hundreds of thousands of people in communities and, you know, raised millions of dollars for people who've lost everything on a conviction,
Right.
Yep.
you know? And so there's a lot of look at the birds for me,
Yeah.
for Grindstone. It's like, I don't have all the things that I need. It's like, yeah, you do. You don't have all the things that you want,
Right.
but you have all the things that you need. There's nothing keeping you other than your own insecurities and lack of belief. There's nothing keeping you from doing the thing that the Father told you
Oh,
to
that's
do.
so true.
Yeah.
Just start,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
That's so true.
My old man used to tell me when I was a kid, he's like, son, you can do anything you want to do in this life. It just takes one word. Start.
Yeah.
Just start. And I don't know if I should have believed him or not. I did, because I started all kinds of things. And it's really cool to see some of these things growing,
Yeah.
you know?
Amen.
It's a lot like tending a garden. Let's see, Caleb House, same thing. Caleb House, which is our counter-trafficking ministry. Caleb with a K. Link is in the description down below. Lots of good works going on over at Caleb House. There's a lot of people that talk a big game about counter-trafficking and doing rescues and all of that. We do rescue and we do restoration. The restoration is the process of putting widows and orphans back together again. And it's humbling and it's an honor. And we have been exclusively supported by the Bear Nation. We don't take a dime of federal funding or state funding or local funding or law enforcement funding or nobody. We're 100% privately supported. And that means that we get to do what we want to do righteously, not have to jump through any hoops or red tape with a government entity anywhere to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so that's been a huge blessing. And if you'd like to plug in to that, you go to Caleb House, Caleb with a K.org. Maybe, you know, if you've seen Alyssa on White Girl Wednesday, she's a construction coordinator. Helping
She's
to get,
awesome.
she is awesome. Godsend.
Yeah.
Helping to get Caleb House actual built. And if that's something you're interested in, then go to Caleb House, Caleb with a K, calebhouse.org. Sign up for the email blast there. And with any of the things that we do, if the Spirit moves you, and only if, you can donate at grindstoneministries.com or calebhouse.org. Last but not least, Patreon. We will be doing our Pelt Patreon exclusive live stream Thursday on the road this week, live from Midwestern Preparedness Festival. So if you're on Patreon, look for a link. Thursday evening, we'll be on the road doing Pelt, which should be cool because it's a prepper festival.
Yeah.
So, and there's a large group of whole Bible believers there as well, which is cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, they asked if I could like participate in Shabbat while I was there, and I was like, I'm honored, thank you. No, I'm coming home. I want to see my wife and kids. Like, but very, very cool people, and So I'll be speaking there on Thursday, Midwestern Prep Fest, and we'll be live on Patreon from Midwestern Prep Fest with our weekly Q&A there. Patreon's 33 cents a day. Link is in the description. All the good stuff is over there. Shall we pray?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we shall.
Yes.
Let's do that. Father Yahweh, Father, thank you for today. Thank you for brothers and friends, and for sunshine, and for conversation, hopefully, that's edifying to you. Father, keep us focused on the things that matter and not distracted by all the things that don't. Let us base truth in your word and not in the words of any man, myself included, or anybody else trying to string a false narrative together, all of which is fruits of the enemy, Father. But let us be wholly dependent and trusting in you, that your will would be done, and that we might be willing participants in that will to prosper and bless and grow your kingdom, to serve your people, to pull people out of ditches, to let the blind see and the lame walk and the lepers heal. Father, that the whole world would come to know you, come to know your Son, and that we might all have a chance at redemption to come home again by the blood of Messiah. Father, yeah, give us the words that we need to speak today. Put us where we need to be. Walk with us in love, that we might be able to love our neighbor as ourselves and shine our light. Father, yeah, just continue to tarry with us and teach us how to be more like you. Father, if there's anything within the sound of my voice that's not of you, we come together in humble agreement and rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, command it to flee. Father, please fill us up with your Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, for all those beautiful gifts of the Spirit that Heath enumerated earlier. Father, for wisdom and discernment, for giftings and talents and delights, and for healing, Father, physical and emotional and mental and spiritual healing. That we get out of the way, be our own stumbling block, and just come crawling back to you again. Father, yeah, let us be good today. And thank you for the opportunity to do good in your name. We love you and we praise you in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen.
And that's the show, everybody. Dudley, thank you for the production quality.
Good job, Dud.
Good job, Dud. If you guys like this, please let us know in the comments. Within the first 48 hours of every video or live stream that goes up, I read all the comments, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so it is not lost on me that a big part of why I was put on planet Earth is to interact with, lead, steward, pastor the Bear Nation. And I read your comments. I take your feedback to heart, and it does help drive how the show is performed. So please, your feedback would be much appreciated. And we will see y'all when we see y'all. Shalom.
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 Thanks, guys.